a lot of things happened, as you are well aware, and one of those things, which you might not be aware of, was that WABC here in New York decided to broadcast the Tuesday Election Day episode on Monday. So I didn't get to see Monday's game until very recently. And, well, let's just say for the rest of the week I wasn't in any mood to do any of these videos. And luckily we have the teen tournament. And anytime there's a quarterfinal, I don't really feel compelled to do any analyses at all because, frankly, any wager is a good wager. Except if you you pull a Clavin or something like that. So let's start with Monday's game. I'll just go through I won't talk about the games at all. I'll just talk about the wagers really quickly. So let's take a look at the scores. Here you had Czech returning champion 16-4, Cat right his heels 14-2, and Georgine 8,000.
Luckily for me,
both these games have very similar situations. That being that the third place player is pretty distant third, but there's some strategy that might come into play here. So if we look at Cat doubling up, she's going to have 28-4, so that's going to make that a 12,000 wager for Chuck. Oops. I haven't driven this thing in a while, so we'll see how it goes. 12,000, so on the downside, it's going to leave him with 4,400. So Cat could wager up to 9,800. And Georgine could wager up to 3,600. Now, Georgine's going to throw the monkey wrench into this whole thing, because if she wagers 8,000, she's going to have 16 grand. So Cat could cover her with an 1,800 wager. If Cat's wrong, she's going to have 12,400. Georgine would have to wager at least 4,400 to cover her. But you'll see that's a little bit too much for what she has to cap her wager at. If she misses and Chuck misses, and assuming Cat goes big and misses, then Georgine might win. So I like the $4,400 wager the best for her. Actually, I like everything at that point, obviously. I especially like something that will cover Cat, so 62.01. You'll see that'll put Georgine at 14.2, which is what Cat's at now. So we'll assume that Georgine's just going to wager everything. I wouldn't get too concerned about mind games here. If I'm Cat, I'm going to want to wager at least first 2,200 to cover the zero wager by Chuck. I'll delete Georgine's wager, just so it's not confusing. And definitely at least 4,400, so as not to allow Chuck to go for this, force you to get a right wager. Of course, Chuck could go for as little as 400, or 399, let's say, in case he thinks that Cat's going to go small and Georgine's going to go for everything. He just keeps Georgine locked out. And for Cat on the downside, that's that same 6,200 amount. Still forcing Georgine to get it right. So pretty tight ranges for everyone here. I'll just switch these around so that no one's confused. 3,600. There we go. Alright, so the actual wagers were Chuck lost 12,001. Georgine got it right and almost went for everything, keeping $10 on the downside. And Cat went for 61.99, which was exactly what she should have done. So 3 good wagers here. And quite happy with that turnout. So now I'm going to turn off the wagers so I can do some things in the background, and I'll talk briefly about that Final Jeopardy clue. It was asking for a landlocked state that had the California gull as its state bird. And you think of gulls, think of salt water. What's a landlocked state that has a lot of salt water? Should lead you right to Utah. Very tough to do under the lights, though. I mean, I could go any of several directions. I guess Michigan's not a bad guess because it has a lot of water. I actually can't remember what anyone else guessed. I know that Georgine got it right and the other two got it wrong, but yeah, it seemed pretty straightforward to me. All right, I think I set up the other numbers now, so we will reveal the Tuesday numbers. Georgine is a low-scoring game, I gotta say. 7,400, Stephanie 7,000, Alan 4,200. I think we only saw 2 daily doubles, so not too much excitement going on here. Alan, you'll see again, has the distant third, but not quite distant third. but Stephanie can keep him locked out, or can lock him out without risking falling below his total on the downside. So Stephanie goes for everything. It's going to be 14,000. I'll do that. 6,600 for Georgine. She'd be left with 800 if she's right. So Stephanie, I guess, could go up 6,200 against Georgine. Alan could go for, what would that be? Yeah, 3,400. So far, so good. Now, if Alan doubles up, that's going to put 8,400 on the table. So Stephanie would want to go for 1,400. Incorrect response with that would leave her with 5,600. So Alan would want to wager 1,400 at least. So here's the interesting thing, and this is why it's a little different from the last scenario. Alan couldn't wager that 1,400. In fact, he can wager the 2,800 that would cover a zero wager by Stephanie without risking falling below Georgine if Georgine goes for the lockout and they both miss. So it puts Alan in a somewhat advantageous situation, at least compared to Georgine yesterday. A week ago plus a day. And I won't go for too much else. I guess Georgine could go for, what would that be, 1,000 to lock out Alan. And then there's some mind games you can get into here, but I'm not going to concern myself too much with that. Stephanie might want to cap her wager 2,800 to force Alan to get it right. What actually happened here was, well, I'll start with Alan this time, because I started left to right, and I'll just go in order of reveal. 3,202, wrong. Good wager, though. Stephanie, wrong, but 3,000, and the problem with that is it drops her below Alan's total, so if Alan had wagered 0, Alan would have been the winner, because Georgine also missed one for the lockout. So Stephanie probably would give her a red on this one. Not a big fan of that wager, just because if you have the opportunity to force an opponent to get it right, you always want to take that chance. And the extra $201, well, actually she'd have $201 more right now if she had kept her total at 4,201. This one was a lot tougher than the Utah clue. I didn't get it in time. The Commonwealth country that redid its constitution in the 1990s. I guess I wasn't thinking about it properly, but South Africa, in hindsight, makes a lot of sense. And having a lot of languages, well, sometimes you're under the gun, and even at home, it's not the easiest clue. So I don't blame any of the players for missing that one. And now I've got the teen tournament, so I'm going to start watching. Well, I've watched a couple of the episodes, pretty good so far. Expecting a higher wildcard total than usual, as tends to be the case with the teens. Somewhat easier material, and typically you can get the best and the brightest here, as opposed to, say, college kids, because a lot of the college kids have only been in school for 1 or 2 years. But here you tend to have juniors and seniors who are just really at the top of the game and dominating some of this material. I shouldn't speak ill of college players, of course, having been one myself. But I'll stop talking now so as to not dig a deeper hole for myself. And yeah, we'll see you. I'll definitely be doing some analyses for the semifinals and the finals of the teen tournament. And I might even have to bring the whiteboard back because I haven't created an Excel template for 2-day total point affairs. We'll see you when I see you right here on the Final Wager.